Hello and welcome to Upper Pen. My name is Dakota, and today I am talking with a Zaykova about Galaxy Grifter, the first book in a series, I hope. Well, thank you for being here with me today, Ala.
Thank you for inviting me.
Can you give folks a little bit of an idea of what Galaxy Grifter is about?
Sure. So it's a fast-paced, snacky space opera about a con artist who bites off more than he can chew when he steals an alien tech blueprint. He hires a snacky programmer to help him decode it, but things quickly go sideways when they find out that gangsters, bounty hunters, mysterious alien warships are after them, and so they struggle to survive and in the process uncover a plot connected to the blueprint that might threaten all of humanity.
That is quite a tall order, but it was so fun to read and listen to. I actually bought the audiobook after I read it on NetGalley.
Awesome.
Um, so where did you start with the story? How did the idea come to you?
Yeah, so I kind of grew up on a lot of science fiction. Um, my mom was a big science fiction geek, in particular space opera, so I was around that all my life. And then I was actually going through quite a hard time and needed something to escape to in my mind. And it kind of started with the idea of a con man walks into a bar, but the bar is in the backwaters of the galaxy on an asteroid. And so the story kind of just developed from there.
The book reminds me of a lot of really great pop culture science fiction. And part of that, I think, is due to the fast paced, but you keep up with the characters too. So who's your favorite out of the two main characters?
Oh God. It's like being forced to choose between your children. um, well, I think kind of the whole idea started with Levi. So I think yeah, he's like the key protagonist, but then Vera kind of developed more to counterbalance him. So yeah, I think he's more the lead of it all. He's a bit hard to like sometimes.
So Levi is very much the main character, it feels like, because we start with him and it's a couple chapters of him right away. But Vera is such a relatable character, I feel like. Was she always really the down-to-earth type when you were writing her?
Yeah, I think she is kind of based a little bit on, especially like her personality and things, on my group of friends from when I was younger, a little bit. So she has, like, she's not a self insert or anything like that. Although I think she has some experiences borrowed from me and a bunch of people that I kind of used to hang out with, and so it kind of becomes this amalgamated little character. And I think that's probably what makes her relatable because it's kind of borrowed from real people, I guess.
Well, she's really cool though because she does struggle with a lot of things that Levi just doesn't think about anymore, it would seem. Like she doesn't want to
Yeah,
leave her brother, right?
yeah, yeah. He doesn't have much of a conscience. Um, and when I started writing him, um, I wasn't exactly sure. I knew I wanted to write this kind of con artist, trickster archetype. But when I started writing him, I realized, oh, okay, he genuinely like struggles to comprehend what remorse is, what um, empathy is, and I think he genuinely like struggles to connect to people because he just doesn't have those concepts of empathy and things. And so I researched traits like this a lot, kind of almost antisocial behavior, antisocial traits, to be able to write accurately, kind of realistically, of what someone like that might react like in situations. But yeah, very definitely. She has empathy, she has people she cares about, but she's like a little bit repressed. I guess it's a trauma response through what she's kind of grown up with and what she had to go through. And she thinks she's got to cope with everything on her own. And so, in a way, that means both of them are really lonely for different reasons. He's lonely because he doesn't have empathy and he can't connect to people. And she's lonely because she believes she has to face everything on her own and she doesn't trust anyone. And if she does trust someone, she doesn't want to burden them. And so that leaves both of them kind of really isolated in their own way.
That makes a lot of sense. And then he's also so attached to his ship that we don't get to meet for most of this. And he's just kind of telling you how much he loves it and why it's so perfect. So I really need this ship. Like, I need it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that because that kind of is a surrogate for him for real human relationships. That's the only thing he's kind of learned to love in a way.
I feel it though, because every science fiction that I've watched or read or, played, I always want the ship to be my house. Like, this is what I want to be living in.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that is what it is for him, and I think it's also um, one of my readers actually mentioned like I that they kind of get it in a way of creating something that is like uniquely just for you in the world, especially if you're kind of feeling like you don't really fit in the world, and so that's like his little safe haven in a way, even though he probably wouldn't put it that way.
That's a really beautiful way to put that, though, because everybody's trying to make a space all their own? A large part of the book revolves around this kind of trying to get away with these blueprints.
Yeah.
Um, did it start off as this kind of heisty like theme throughout?
Uh, yes, I didn't plan the book. As I said, it started a con artist kind of walks into a bar on an asteroid in my head, and then it developed from there. And um, I kind of pantsed through the whole first draft of it, so I didn't know what was coming. But then I did a lot of work to kind of reverse engineer it and make all the bits actually fit together.
Was it a long revision process?
Oh yes, yes, it was extremely long. Because it only took me like 9 or 10 months to finish the first draft, and then it took me almost, well, yeah, 5, 6 years to get it to where it is now. Yeah.
Were you doing all of that editing on your own then?
So initially I kind of finished the first draft, did some revisions, and I joined a group online called The Next Big Writer. It's a critique group, and actually, yeah, I met some cool people, made a really good friend in there who I still stay in touch with regularly. Um, and that gave me a lot of ideas for what to do with the story. And so I started revising it. I also read tons of craft books and kind of workshops and all that. Um, and I think, yeah, that was kind of more useful, having the draft completed than going into the deep dive on craft and all that. Um, because I think in the past I used to write, but I used to kind of get stuck in my own head a lot, and trying to make it perfect up front was just not a good idea. And so having the draft done and then working to make it better, yeah, was definitely helpful. And so yeah, with that feedback, I got a much clearer idea of what I needed. And then I started revising it, and obviously I have a kid, I had a job, COVID came up, things like that. So it was a lengthy process. And then when eventually I got it to a place where I felt confident-ish, I got another bunch of feedback. So I had a whole lot of beta readers that provided feedback, and also submitted it to some like opening chapter critique places and things like that. So yeah, it's had tons of feedback, and it's had tons of input. And in my acknowledgements, I say kind of it takes a village to to release a book. And then obviously once I signed up with Orbit, there was the full editing process as well, which has been really useful, but I don't think it's been as intense as it might have been if I didn't spend all those years revising on my own.
That's very fair because like the amount that you have that you feel like you might have gotten it to a good place and then submitting it is always much more uh palatable in my opinion when the editors finally get to it.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I was lucky that my editor kind of really saw the vision and helped me make the vision stronger rather than try to change anything too significantly that I didn't want changed. Like I was always afraid that um, if it does get ends up being published, that like people try to make Levi softer, and I didn't want that.
What were some of the suggestions that the editor did make that you wanted to take into account?
It was mainly expanding on some world building elements, and yeah, making Kairos and bringing it to the front a bit more, like making that connection stronger. And I think that worked really well. That was, I think, the big part. Yeah. And then just kind of minor expansions here and there.
Were the expansions to kind of slow it down a little bit and like give a little bit more insight, or were they
Yeah, just a bit more descriptions and to kind of ground the reader, because short attention span, I tend to race through things. And I'm an underwriter as well. So my early drafts tend to be like super sparse. Obviously it wasn't by the time I submitted it, but yeah, there was still bits where my editor saw that it could still be expanded a little bit more.
I tend to, when I write, or I used to write a lot, I'd write in chunks, and then I'd have to figure out how to connect those chunks. So I get this feeling of like spazzy or like you have something you really want to get down.
Yeah. I
Um,
think I think that's what my first draft kind of looked like. It was a lot of bits and pieces, and I was like, but it's not all falling down like dominoes. And there was a craft book that I read called Take Off Your Pants, and that, I think, yeah, that's a really good craft book for chaotic brains, I think, because it doesn't keep you tied to a very rigid structure, but it helps you weave that through line to make it feel coherent.
Well, this book is part of a series, right? Or at least a duology.
Yes, I have just finished the first draft of book two. So that's due to my editor pretty soon. Yeah, I'm working on revising that now. And then I don't really have plans for anything next in the series, but I also don't want to say that it's like closed. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Was writing book two a little bit more put together in your brain then, since you'd already read all those craft books?
Yeah, definitely. And since I had the characters established as well, and I have a much better understanding of how craft works and how storytelling works and how my own brain works in a way as well. I actually had an outline. It was very short outline, and I still ended up making up kind of a lot as I go. But yeah, definitely feel much more confident about the structure of it like immediately as opposed to having to go back and piece it all together.
Or do you feel good about sending it to your editor the way it is now?
No, definitely not. I think structurally it's fine, but the prose is extremely rushed, and I don't think it will make much sense to anyone going in and reading it cold. I definitely needs some at least like line level. Like there are chunks where I might just write dialogue without adding in any environment, any beats or anything like that. Or there might be parts where I just kind of shorthand describe action and things like that. So I just need to flesh all that out now.
That sounds like a tough job. I do not envy this.
No, no. But yeah, it feels good to have all of it down, and I think I don't feel too bad about it.
Does book two explore a little bit more of the universe then? Because we have our main characters now, right?
Uh, it does, and it kind of it goes forward and it goes backwards a little bit as well, not in terms of the timeline in the book, but it explores kind of what happened, what circumstances have led to kind of what happened to book one and stuff, and it's got even more heists.
One of the things that I thought was so fun about Vera is that she's so convinced that she's not good at these things, these like criminal things, but she grew up literally on a pirate planet manipulating people to stay alive.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think when she ends up on Seshat, which is the more comfortable planet, she feels a bit like an oddball and doesn't know what to do with herself a little bit.
There's a little bit of a romantic thread in the books. Well, in this first book. Does it continue into book two?
Definitely, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think it dives deeper into kind of the character's psyche and what drives them and the impact this whole relationship had on them. I think they're both quite central to each other's growth in a way, in different ways.
I could see that. It's really funny to me because it's a little bit of a spoiler because it's kind of further in the book, but when they think they've sold the blueprints, um,
Mm-hmm.
and Levi is like thinking about why he's not going to give her all the money that he promised her. He's like, "Well, what does she mean she wasn't in love with me when we slept together?"
Yeah, I think that really bothers him, and I think with Vera, I wanted to give her that agency to make bad decisions in a way with her eyes wide open. So she knows she can't trust this guy from the very start, but she chooses to kind of go with him anyway and sleep with him anyway. And kind of that doesn't mean that he has been able to manipulate her into it like he thinks he has. It's kind of her making her own decisions for her own reasons.
It feels a lot of like, it feels almost like stress relief the first time you mentioned that they slept together because it's so tense leading up to it.
Pretty much. And I think Vera is so concerned with how she presents herself in the world a little bit because she's like always so hyper vigilant. She doesn't share her problems with her brother even or her friends, and she's kind of afraid of the impact that might have on them, whereas she does not care about the impact anything might have on Levi because she thinks he's such a douchebag. So she can kind of be more herself in a way that she doesn't need to police herself, and yeah, which is kind of becomes kind of like a weird contradiction. She doesn't trust him, but also that gives her more freedom to just like not care what he thinks.
Was this the first book that you wrote to completion, before you started the edits? I mean,
To completion, yes. Yeah. I have been writing my whole life. I think I completed my first like novel length ish manuscript when I was like 16. And then I haven't written anything long form for a very long time. But I did write a lot of poetry and short stories, things like that. And yeah, this was the first book that I have completed since then.
were there any challenges that you noticed from writing like shorter pieces to writing a full-length novel again?
Um, well, yeah, I think like I said a little bit while back, yeah, piecing it all together kind of and making sure that it's coherent throughout. And I guess, yeah, the fact that I underwrite, so needing to kind of pause and make sure that I'm including all the details that need to be included.
That makes sense. Um, you said you're not working on anything in this universe or thinking about anything right now, but are you working on anything at all coming up?
I have a lot of ideas and I have some things that are planned. There's not really much that I can talk about at this point because I don't know how far I'm gonna take any of that. But yeah, I've been planning another science fiction that's totally in a different universe. That's a little bit harder on the science. Um, but yeah, I've also got quite a few fantasy ideas that I want to explore one day. That I've done some world building and things for. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. What ends up taking priority, I guess.
So that kind of makes me think like, well, you've already published this book one and you'll have published book two. So do you think it'll be easier to, once you've written another piece, to be able to submit it to an editor or an agent even to try and get it published?
Yeah. So I've got an agent now, which is great. So I'm contracted for the two books, so Galaxy Grifter and then the sequel. And then I also have an option title, which is basically you provide another book to them and they have to consider it. They don't have to take it, but they have to consider it. And so that's kind of like a mutually binding thing that you have to provide it to them. And yeah, and so hopefully they'll like the next thing that I write. So we'll see.
That's kind of
But
terrifying to me because if I didn't have a solid idea, I think I would just be thinking about that and like working myself up.
well, I think yeah, just having knowing that I got to finish book two, I've just been focusing on that, and then I started now that I'm kind of getting towards the end of that, I started thinking, well, what what is the thing that I'm going to focus on next? And like I said, I've got a few ideas that are kind of on the go, but it's kind of me choosing which one I'm going to prioritize.
Do you have to have it done within a certain time frame for them to look at it, or is it just like an extended offer?
So the second book definitely had a deadline. Um, the option, I'm not sure if it has a deadline.
Okay.
I'll need to reread my contract. I haven't even thought that far.
I'm sure I'm getting way ahead here thinking like what's going on because you still haven't submitted the edits yet. So like I should just slow my roll.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take it one step at a time, basically. And but yeah, I'm hoping to finish the next thing within a year again. I think that's a good deadline for me as well, because like otherwise, I can take another 6 years, and I just really don't want to.
Well, I imagine it has more to do with the amount of time that you have in your daily life to sit down and write. Do you find it hard to carve that time out?
It's a little bit easier now because I don't work full time anymore. Um, so yeah, since we moved from New Zealand to Australia, I haven't been in full time work. I do a bit of freelancing for kind of writing, editing, and illustration as well. But definitely easier now than it was when I had a full time job.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What do you illustrate?
I do a little bit of character art.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I did character art for my own characters, but yeah, I do it for other people as well a little bit.
That's really, really cool because I always see people who, like a lot of the people I follow are always looking for character artists, but if you are one, you just have that in your pocket that you can do. That's so amazing to me.
Well, I used to draw when I was younger, and then I just did not have time for it over the past decade plus. And yeah, again, when I stopped working full time, it was something I was able to pursue. And I did a course in design that was 6 months long. And through that course, I kind of realized that I actually like drawing and illustration more than I like design. And so I've kind of just stuck with that.
Well, at least the writing and the design or the like art and stuff can go together really well in this context.
Yeah, they do, and I think they engage different parts of the creative brain, which is yeah, awesome.
I am so interested to see book two, so um, you know,
Awesome.
no pressure, but
No, that's awesome. That's really good to hear. That gives me motivation.
well, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Galaxy Grifter is out now, and I would recommend it to anybody who really enjoys fast, fun sci-fi. I hope everybody out there goes and checks it out and then has a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.